Well, George, what a magnificent specimen of a restored Jeep. And I since you were 13, okay, and I'm going to give away your age. You're 53, so that's been over 40 years ago as a kid. But I have to show our viewers out there exactly what restoration means, because again, not only to a youngster, but when did you take this thing down and redo it?
Like I said, I bought it in '77. I finished it my senior year in high school. That was '81. And that's when I first showed it. Actually, I showed it in '80 and then I showed it in '81.
Exact frame off restoration, every nut, every bolt.
I mean, there again, this was my first experience in a proper down to bare nothing frame. So I was sort of self-taught on a lot of my skills. My dad was an earnest wrench turner. His skills were not always on the higher end of the spectrum, but he always would give a lot of effort into taking stuff apart. Wasn't always successful on the reassembly, but he encouraged me in a way that only a loving father can, and so he fanned the fire and let me go.
Well, I have to ask you one specific question, okay? For the collectors out there, okay, and there are hundreds of thousands of us, okay, just like you, just like me, and folks are going to be interested in this show. From your advice, okay, from your seat in all this business, is there one Jeep that's more collectible than another? I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah, that's a tough
But
one.
is there something that somebody ought to go after? Because, you know, the World War II Jeeps, there's a lot more of them made. Then you get into the Korea era, not so many. And then, of course, when you get into the Vietnam, the 151. So of those families, of those three over those courses of war, which one do you think is more collectible?
Well, the World War II has always been considered king of the collector Jeep world. Now, as time goes by here and that generation ages out and dies, and not necessarily those that fought in the war, but those that still have that touchstone, that grew up with a memory or a very close memory of hearing about World War II. So as a result, the World War II Jeep was sort of always the prototypical Jeep that was sought after. Beyond that, it comes down to probably more what you are after. So, and do you want a flat fender Jeep? Some guys, that look to them, that's all they want. And that could be a 38, that could be an MB, it could be a CJ for that matter, or a 2A or a 3A. But they want that flat fender look is something that's an intangible, and that's all they want.
Yeah.
Others don't care. If it's OD and it's proper pedigree as a military Jeep, you know, that could be a 38A1, it could be an M151. And then of course, the cost of what your budget is.
Right.
So where are you budgeting wise to buy a Jeep that's either a basket case and be invested in doing the restoration yourself, or know that, okay, you don't have the skills that are needed or required to do that restoration, so you're much better off at that point going out and buying a Jeep that has been restored.